Hello, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, I shall be taking you guys on another aspect of love, which is communication. They say without communication, there is no relationship, and without relationship, there is no love. Tell me how you are going to survive in a relationship without communication at the first place. Communication is very important to all healthy relationships, and in this video I shall be highlighting the importance of communication and how you can communicate effectively in your relationship or in your marriage. Nowadays, we see that most people are scared of communication in their relationships or marriages because the fear losing their partners, or the fear getting upset, or maybe the fear rejection in their relationships. Do you actually think that is the best way out? Communication is very important in your relationship because it helps you to know your partner deeper. How are you going to know your partner's likes? How are you going to know what your partner dislikes in your relationship if you don't get to communicate often? Communication also helps you to discover your partner's morals as well as values. Communication is as well important in that it helps you to express your feelings. Take for instance those moments when you are down, when you are weak, when you are lonely, when you are depressed, and you don't get to communicate your feelings. It's really draining, it's really dangerous, and that can affect your health. Maybe it can affect your concentration in school, at the job site, or at home. Communication is very essential in your relationships because it helps you guys to express your opinions as well as avoid misunderstandings. Communication is as well important in that it keeps you guys connected. Take for instance those who are in distant relationships. If you don't get to communicate, maybe one might develop feelings of loneliness or being alone in that relationship, and by the time you realize that there is no communication in your relationship, something is wrong somewhere, and you need to find out what actually is going wrong in your relationship. Communication is also important in that it helps you to resolve conflicts. Take for instance those times when you got issues, you got problems with your partner, and you don't sit down to talk them man to man. How are you going to resolve problems in your relationship? Communication is the core. It is very important in your relationship. Some people, however, different people communicate differently in their relationships, and it is very important you understand the kind of communication your partner chooses to give in your relationship. It is always very important to know the message you are giving out, how to give out that message, and at what time to give out that message. Take for instance, you are married to someone, maybe that person comes back from work, you don't even sit down to ask how their day went on. You just come in and begin to narrate your problems, your financial issues, you table your financial problems. You may receive a very hot slap at that moment because you have not really dedicated time to communicate with your partner, and you will find out that that is bringing problems in your relationship. To communicate effectively and successfully in your relationship, it is also important that you should learn the type of communication method your partner chooses to offer you. There are some people who prefer video calls, there are some people who prefer audio calls, there are some people who prefer physical interaction, physical meeting. So it is good you understand the kind of communication your partner chooses to offer you so that you can always live up to their expectations. To communicate effectively in your relationship, it is good that you should be an active listener. Always listen as one partner talks. There is no way in communication when one person talks and the other backs at the moment. No, it is not really the best idea. You should listen with all interest and concern and give in your own opinions or idea about that issue. To communicate effectively in your relationship, you do not need to be abusive or insultive no matter the situation at hand. You need to address issues in a calm and in a relaxed manner. To communicate effectively in your relationship, it is not always advisable that you should assume to know what is on your partner's mind. Always try as much as possible to find out what they are thinking. They can be thinking something else while you are there thinking some other thing. So it is always good that you should sit down and talk and find out what they actually have on mind. Another issue of communication is that you should not always bottle up yourself in anger when your needs are not met. Maybe you should communicate your feelings and your needs with your partner so as they can be addressed rather than bottling up yourself in anger. Okay, it is also important that you should discover what your partner's interests and hobbies are so that you can be able to start up a conversation with them. Take for example, your husband is a fan of football, and to maybe you have a discussion, you want to discuss something with him, and the best way to go about it is maybe to ask about how when his team is to play next, and you will see that he will give in interest about what your questions are, and from there you can get to start whatever discussion you wanted to discuss with him. To communicate effectively in your relationship, it is also advisable that when you say something, mean it. Don't say things that you do not mean them. Be clear, be precise, be transparent, and try as much as possible to be honest about whatever you are saying. Another issue or another aspect to note or that will help you communicate successfully in your relationship is that you should be able to learn your partner's love language. Understand, try as much as possible to understand what makes him feel loved in that relationship. Maybe you can be with someone who prefers spending quality time with you, or who prefers just words of affirmation. Those that might make him feel loved in that relationship, rather than telling him I love you from January to December. So try as much as possible to be able to figure out what makes him or her happy, what boosts his emotions or his happiness in that relationship, and you should be able to meet up their needs as possible. Another important thing is that your communication should be consistent, it should flow. If you are in a relationship with someone who shows up today and disappears after a week or a month and comes back, that should be a red flag in that relationship. Something is wrong somewhere. Maybe that person is not in that relationship with you, and that should ring a bell in your mind. Okay, guys, that was what I could gather for you guys on communication in this video. Please, if you got any worries, any issues, leave your comments below. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, please don't go without subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. Until then, stay tuned for updates. Ciao, ciao, ciao.